Just as a player whose dungeon master tends to, no offense, be really bad at puzzles, how have you found a way to work around players getting bored or feel like they're not getting anywhere? Um, First of all, puzzles are like the most difficult thing to introduce into D&D. Maybe not the most. I'm sure there are harder things, but it's one of the top tier tough things to certainly design, let alone run in a game. Usually what people think of and have experienced when you say puzzles in D&D is some sort of uh, door or lock puzzle, or maybe some sort of it's usually like something that you kind of feel like probably could have come out of like a book of puzzles or something, and it doesn't feel necessarily baked into the world. So I'll like absolutely but this is also why I've found puzzles and designing puzzles to be so fun, and something that I want to do more on the channel, and hopefully make more resources for people to have more fun with puzzles, because I think they are a great way. One of the reasons that it's tricky to run them is because you can't really roll dice to solve the problem of a puzzle. It's a problem for the player's minds, which I find really exciting. It's not for every group, it's not for every table. But if that is something that a table enjoys, it can be really, really, really cool. I think the key is that, for me at least, what makes a puzzle interesting is that it has to be very believably included in the world. I point to a lot of escape rooms. I've never been to an escape room. I've never done one before, but I've seen a lot of examples of those. And the one I always think of is like this idea that, like, okay, to get into the detective's desk, it looks like his combination is a series of like these locations he's been to on his map. And as soon as it starts to, it's like you got to look around the room, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. That's never something that anybody would use to actually hide, or like it would just be a sequence of numbers that they wouldn't write themselves a little puzzle to solve. That doesn't make any sense. Um, One of the best puzzles I think to introduce to a group is like an encoded message in a letter. So this is something that can be very straightforward. Anybody can grab some paper, age it up, write one out, and a letter between two people can have their own sort of secret code, but it's also very reasonable for that to be noticed and detected. And I think the key to stuff like that being exciting for a table is that, well, first of all, the letters that they find, like if the party comes across letters and they have actual, hopefully, things to hold on to and look at and rifle through at the table, those letters between the two NPCs should be interesting at face value, right? There should be something going on that furthers the plot. The players have just stumbled upon some information and they're interested. And then what I like to do is give absolutely no hint that there's a puzzle to find or solve. That's my preference, right? I want the party to have the exciting moment of discovering something, and sort of, actually what it would feel like to find something like that, like a hidden message. So I've done this in my games. Like, I'll let puzzles sit for many sessions. Like, I will never call it out, because if you find a puzzle, if you find a hidden code in that letter, like let's say, hey, every capital letter in this letter, if I string it together, it has another message. Or maybe if I go down the left margin, all of these letters form a secret message. The player who has that revelation will never forget having that revelation, right? Hey, Niz. Now, that secret message should also be interesting and exciting and develop things, and probably give the players like a real advantage in something that they're trying to figure out. Obviously, I'm talking in abstract terms here, but for me, the keys are to really make it feel like it's a legit part of the world, like the part of the game world. Like, this is a way that people hide things. This is a way that people make things difficult to get into. Um, and it's not easy to do. Totally. What I just described is setting the bar about as high as I think you can possibly set it. Um, but also, I think like that, if you have puzzles like that, you don't have to have them all the time. You can have them, I usually probably only have a puzzle like I just described maybe once in each like kind of town that's visited, like something that's kind of in depth and meaningful like that. but they're a lot more memorable, and I think a lot more fun to run and a lot more fun for players. This dungeon that I'm talking about right now is born from a puzzle idea. So, um, if I move this out of the way, so these are yet to be painted, um, but this is a set of stairs leading into this particular dungeon. It's sort of a temple, so there's sort of these big slab stones, and each one has one of these symbols carved into it. They're very basic, right? Sort of like barbarian-esque symbols, but each one of these maps to one of the values that these monks or these acolytes have. And to access the various levels of the dungeon, the party is going to have to sort of decipher some notes, almost like some like archaeological, like Indiana Jones style notes, to be able to understand which of like 2 or 3 staircases to go up, because one of them will take them to the second level and the other one will trigger like the whole thing to come collapsing down on top of them. So trying to sort of create that moment of like looking at something on the table, looking at something in your notes, like again, try, it's like, call it a Indiana Jones vibe or like a National Treasure vibe, like something where they feel like they're actually solving something, is one of the goals, I have for puzzles. Yeah, yeah, Renee, and I think that's, it, it's understandable to me why anybody ends up putting that kind of thing on the table, because it feels like that's a, you know, I understand why people do it. And I don't want to criticize DMs for doing it necessarily, because there aren't a ton of resources for this stuff. If you even just like search around for like puzzles for D&D, a lot of the resources you're going to find are 10 plus years old. They're for older editions. They're for versions of the game that I think are kind of outdated compared to how people play. Like the 5e, the big boom of D&D that happened in these past, I would say probably 10 years or so, people are kind of expecting a different sort of game than it used to be, and I don't think puzzles have quite caught up yet. Obviously, I hope that they're going to. Um, but yeah, that's basically my thesis on puzzle stuff. I've done a bunch on the channel already. Most of it though has been buried in live streams. I'm starting to be able to start releasing them, and hopefully I can, rather than critiquing puzzles, I can start to throw my own out into the world, and hopefully people will get a chance to play them and hopefully have fun. This one with these stairs, I think at the core is going to be a sequence or like a mastermind style puzzle. Yeah, Renee, have like, I would say like, from the best experience with puzzles is probably something in hand. Second best is at least something that you can look at in person. Third best is something visual at all. And yeah, I mean, the hardest is definitely theater of the mind. Having to imagine, like, if I describe a room, technically everybody's room is going to look a little bit different in their head. And then trying to get them to like collaborate on solving a puzzle around that theater of the mind stuff is really, really hard. I'm sure it can happen. I've only tried it a couple of times, and usually I'm like, why didn't I just provide a visual of some sort for everybody to look at? Sector, I don't really know. I know there's a bunch of like, there are like games and stuff you can buy that let you basically run an escape room, but I've never tried to make something bespoke like that. Hey Jed, sound-based puzzles work wellish for online play. Yeah, yeah. Um, Whenever I have sound cues involved, I like to have like a couple of different ways, because not everybody's. I like to ideally have a couple different senses engaged, right? Something visual as well as a sound. That way, if people lean more towards one or the other, they can use that. But yeah, I would agree. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense, Renee. I wouldn't honestly stress at all. Like, jot down maybe whatever ideas you have, but like right now, all that's going to matter is that first session. Um, it's probably it's probably not. I actually don't know. I've never really asked around to see how weird this is, but um my preference, or the way that I run my games, is I only ever prep one session at a time. So I'm prepping weekly for the next week session. I have some big ideas, broad stroke stuff that I'll write down, but I never actually prep anything until the players get work through it. Um, because I'm trying to cut down on like wasted prep time. So I'll prep something, run the session, see where they end up at the end, and then I'll prep for the next session before the next week.